So are you guys ready for my long overdue unpopular opinion about A Quiet Place 2? If you by any chance thought that this movie was everything, click off right now. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss A Quiet Place 2. Yeah, a little long overdue, huh? Now, I was not planning to review this one because sometimes I feel like with some movies, you know, I too can be a little nitpicky. But sometimes you gotta be that, because when you don't like some shit, you just don't like it. Before I get into what I just didn't like and why I feel like the first film is a far cry better than the shit we got here, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm gonna give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're gonna come back and discuss all things annoying ass children who just walk off and go do whatever the hell they want to do at any time. You don't just get the shit and just walk off with your whole life in danger. Then we gotta come and jeopardize our life to come get your ass again? Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this video. Now, before we jump into part 2, let me spend like 1 second on the first one. I absolutely loved the first movie. It was so intense and so refreshing to get that movie at the time that we did, because, you know, horror was getting a little stale, a little formulaic. And for them, you know, to not say anything, the urgency in being quiet, the, you know, small little atmosphere, you know, conduced, you know, to the house, the family setting, the pressure of it all. I thought it was so unique and so good, so compelling. Not just the horror, not just the monster, but just the storytelling overall. I was really invested in the family, the characters. John Krasinski was about to make, if I said his name right, was about to make me cry. Like I was about to tear up. Like, it takes a lot to get that out of you with a horror movie, which it was just so much that made this so special. That's why I didn't understand why, when we decided to get here, you know, a second time, why we decided to make those things that were special less special. Now, getting into the movie, we do, you know, begin with John Krasinski. I was so glad, you know, we got to get a little Lee here, because I felt like without that opening scene, stuff would have been a little dry. The opening of this movie and the whole intro and the whole, you know, flashback used to, you know, really show us exactly what happened, and also establish new characters that we don't know that, you know, we'll see later on in the film. It was really good. Like, it was so intense. It was kind of reminding me of, Bird Box, you know, with the whole driving aspect and, you know, so many things happening at once and people trying to react. And, you know, more than anything, other than establishing those new characters and, you know, giving us all we needed to know about what happened. And it just showed us, you know, Lee was that dude. Lee was always that dude, always the first to react, being really alert, being, you know, really on call as to go, yeah, y'all might want to shut the fuck up. Knowing that right away, it was really good to get that. And I loved the opening, and it left me wanting more as to go, whew, we opening real hard here. We about to go up. Yeah. Now, after that, we jump immediately into present day, and we pick up where we left off in the first film. But we also get into this movie adding and taking all kind of liberties that I just feel like we did not need, that weren't anywhere present in the first film, and we did just fine without them. Now, I do like a switch up. I do like change. I do like, you know, when people are making an effort to be different. But it's one thing to, like it's like it was a gumbo pot of shit. We get into, you know, Emily Blunt and the family, the mom, you know, everybody heading out on foot, and, you know, the house has been destroyed. But we do have, you know, that newfound, you know, the high pitch that affects the monsters, and, you know, will have, you know, the upper hand. Now, we immediately, in my opinion, take all kinds of liberty with the noise and how quickly the monsters react to the noise. I was like, what's going on here? Because, you know, that first film, it was just so intense right off the bat that really invested you in the movie, because, you know, we have that that first moment with the son and the whole toy situation. And even aside from him, like, the impact of the noise and the monsters was like indefinite, immediate, especially if you were out in the open. It was one thing, you know, when they were inside. No, you were out in the open, in the daylight, shingling bottles. You know, the son gets, you know, caught in like a bear trap, and there's so much screaming, so much noise. And I swear I was counting the minutes like, oh my God, like I was so in fear as soon as she hit those bottles and she goes, run. And then the son, like, he's screaming, the baby's crying. It's just like, they coming, right? Is it still, do the same rules apply? Because I'm just not feeling the intensity of this situation. Like, I wasn't fearing for nobody's life at that moment, because it was like, yeah. Now, when it did actually show up, I care, but it wasn't the same. Now, as far as the monsters are concerned, with monsters like this, and especially how they were presented in the movie before, I like to use, you know, that first Alien movie theory, because, you know, we get so much fear from the alien in the atmosphere. People would swear watching the first Alien film that it had a lot of screen time, but it only had, you know, a few minutes of screen time, and that just gave away to how dominant the monsters were and how fearful you were. And you didn't, like, it's the element of surprise, you know, a little bit of less is more. And I feel like here we got so much of the monsters in the daylight, in the open, for long periods of time. We saw so much of them here, and I just didn't feel like that was necessary. Now, whereas in the first film, we didn't get to see them often. If we did, it was really brief, like it was in passing. They were, you know, in transition up until, you know, we got that grand kind of standoff at the end of the movie. But the fear and the intensity for me was just the same, and I really feared for them. You didn't really know exactly what they looked like, you know, right away, but we need to know that. All we need to know is we needed to be quiet so they wouldn't get us. And that's all I needed. I didn't need to see the full, like, I didn't go into this like, I wonder what the full-blown monster looks like in the skin and up close. I didn't need that. I didn't need that. What we got and how we got it in the first film, as much as we got, was more than enough. We saw these monsters far too damn much. Now, at this point, you know, we have the family sort of kind of rescue, you know, from the old family friend who we were introduced to in the beginning of the film. You know, he's lost his wife, he's lost his children, he's all alone. At this point, he's just trying to survive. And I do love that he's just not some super do-gooder, like, eager to help. It's like, no, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. Like, things are intense. Everybody's not worth saving at this point. The world that you knew is finished. Like, there's some tasteless elements out there in the world. So I did like that about him. But it wasn't, you know, I wasn't as invested in him as Lee, of course. But I did like the dynamics of him and kind of his standing. But I think we lose some of that standing immediately when we have the daughter character rehatch and do some of the same exact things that she did in the first film. Now, getting into the children, you know, Reagan and Noah, we totally, you know, rehashed the same storyline as far as who they were and where they were in the first film, which is understandable because, you know, we are picking up right where we left off. But, you know, it is a little off-putting, especially with the son, because he's clearly so much older and a lot larger than he was in the first film. But it's fine. More so with the Reagan character. Now, I did go into this film hoping to see a little bit maturity in her character, since, you know, she had that really large story arc. But her, you know, kind of selfish making decisions and, you know, kind of being irrational and not being where she was supposed to be when she needed to be there, and, you know, trying to prove herself to her dad and why can't I go, and, you know, trying to be that in the family. It was warranted because we felt what she felt, and feeling like she was having so much guilt placed upon her, especially on the part of her dad for what happened to her brother. But she just wanted to prove herself to him and get that reassurance of, you know, I still love you no matter what. So even though what was going on in the first film, because I'm not gonna act like it didn't get on my nerves, because I was like, girl, like screaming at her through the screen, just like, man, if she had done that like 2 seconds earlier, girl, we could have still had Lee like, sit your ass down, you know? But it was all warranted. Here, oh, like, it went beyond just, you know, the little selfish situation and Lee having, you know, to sacrifice himself for the kids and, you know, not being there and the mother going into labor and that whole thing. It went beyond that here. It was just like, what? Now we have this new element added of, you know, a radio station and it's broadcasting a song. You know, there may be people there. Even if there aren't, I can, you know, broadcast this, you know, loud pitch signal on there and, you know, we can have a one-up on the monsters. Understandable. But to have her just blatantly get up and leave and pack up, singular, and run off and have that be, you know, the push along for the story. Like I was like this, you know, the whole like, girl, what, really this is what we're gonna do? Like, now of course, you know, we have her, she's a teen and she thinks she knows best, nobody's listening to her, but to have that happen with the caliber of loss that they just had and to know the danger that she could face, to think that she could go out along with a gun and a speaker and that whole thing and to endanger everyone's life, to have to, you know, I was with the dude when he was like, no, girl, like, I'm not going out there. I barely wanted y'all to stay in my little private area. And the mom is like, you know, to get that story going, yeah, she's worth saving. Get out there and, you know, find my daughter because you have to. I don't, but okay. But just that big decision and, you know, that scene of her on the train and the monsters coming and she's trying to collect herself and it's, you know, birds and noise and all of that whole thing that's supposed to be intense with her reaching for the first aid kit. I just was not feeling it. It was too much of a rehatchment from the first movie. And it just made me like, left a little bad taste in my mouth for little mama, and don't nobody want that. I was looking for some growth. And speaking of that, since we have, you know, that whole thing going on there with her needing to be rescued and all the families kind of having different arcs and separating, which was okay. But I'm like, oh, here we go with little Noah. They stay leaving Noah with his baby. They stay leaving Noah with his baby because, you know, the mom, she needs, you know, they need food, they need supplies, they need, you know, medical things for his leg, and the baby's running out of oxygen. So that's a whole nother level of intensity added. It was okay, but I didn't know how I felt about everybody kind of going off in their own way and not for the return of what we got, which was those, we're going to get to those elements, you know, those tasteless elements in town and the people who aren't worth saving. We're going to get to them people. But the mom just, you know, leaving, I'm like, you know, we understand, you know, you just lost Lee, but it was like you left the baby with, like, we knew that was an accident waiting to happen. But she's, you know, taking a sweet time with the drop of ring off and stuff. I was like, all right. But by the time we get back, we have, you know, dumb decision making on the son part. Like, I just knew he was going to do something. Like, no, we're just going to explore and knock shit over and make noise and not only endanger my life, but the babies. And then, you know, lock myself in this air sealed tight ass cell-like container. And now me and the baby don't have any oxygen. So there's another, the movie was trying really hard to like one up the intense, like, oh my God, what's going to happen first? What about the baby? What about the son? What about the mom? He's about to pass out. We have, you know, the daughter here. She's, you know, trying to get to the station. And it was just so much going on when I really, really preferred those quiet moments and the moments that we got in the first film. There was just too much going on for me. Not only do we have the monsters, but we get into, you know, the guy now agreeing, you know, hey, I will help you. You're not taking no for an answer. Let's go. I have a boat. Once we are introduced to these bloodshot red eyes of people like damn near rapey, cannibalistic, do y'all have opposable thumbs? Like, it was just like, what? If there wasn't going to be a stronger presence of this group of people, I just didn't care to have them there. They didn't really do anything for me. They were in their grasp so quickly, and, you know, just to kind of fear for her life, to go, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're, you know, sizing her up. It was getting a little yin, yin, yang, you know. But to have, you know, that backfire so quick and the monsters show up and it kind of all be for nothing. Yeah, that didn't do anything for me. Then we get over and meet Djimon Hounsou for like 2 seconds. I did like the intense scene of the mom, you know, really rushing to try to save her children and them, you know, running out of oxygen and she having to, you know, really think on her feet and use the oxygen tank to, you know, kind of create a diversion and set it on fire. And, you know, the whole water coming down, that whole thing, that was, you know, a nice little moment. But, you know, you have them kind of tucked away, just not so much of the story. This story was more so about Reagan and, you know, just how brilliant she is. But, you know, just her everlasting notions, you know, never give up. I know these things, nobody's listening to me, but I'm going to continue to be persistent. But we have that, and also have, you know, this father figure-esque character trying to, you know, prevail even though he's lost everything. This is more so about them more than the entire family as a whole, as it was in the first film. But once we get over and we have this Gullah Gullah Island aspect at it, where it's like, yeah, the monsters could, you know, swim or, you know, get over the water, boat or anything. And we meet this whole group of people in like this whole colony situation, frolicking free, making all the noise in the world. And it was just like, oh, this is different. I didn't know what to think at that moment. I was like, okay. I mean, even if you did, you know, you could take a few liberties, I still wouldn't be this loud, but you know, do you? But we are introduced to Djimon Hounsou and he gives us, you know, a brief playback on, you know, what happened, how long they've been there, and you found us. Djimon Hounsou is literally here for 2 seconds and he's only here to die. Like, if he wasn't here at all, the story would have ran the same. Like, they could have just found the station on their own. It was just so unwarranted. And so I was like, did y'all just need a black person to die? Or, yes, I have to save my family. And he was just, oh, that's it? Oh, okay. He was so prominent in the trailer, though. I was like, oh, you, So you have that going on, and you have this element of a monster getting over on the boat. And, you know, wreaking havoc in the colony on their little, like, oh, y'all, no, y'all was just talking and shit, keep talking. You have that. The scene's just, I'm like, is it just me, or was it not doing anything for me? Not to say that this movie was bad, but I think that my expectations were so high due to the first film and how great that was to me. With this here and me hearing statements like, oh my God, is it better than the first one? Oh, this is so amazing. And I'm just like, did I miss something? I must have missed something. But you have, you know, that going on and them trying to outrun this one monster that made it over, or, you know, maybe multiples made it over. I don't know. It appears, you know, how well they steer the boats. You have that happening, and you have them finally, you know, get to the station, and it's like things just slow all the way down. And I liked the ending wasn't just Reagan, because if it was just Reagan, I probably just would have checked out. I like the ending with us kind of getting, you know, some growth on the son's part, because I just wanted some maturity out of some of these characters, some element of change. I like that this wasn't just her story arc, and you have him really stepping up towards the end to protect his family. You know, at that point when we have that sound coming out and he comes out and steps in front of his family and, you know, kind of gets that man's shoes. It was like, oh, look at him. He spent so much time being frightful and just, you know, I don't know what to do. Don't leave me with the baby. Lord, just mama, no. So just to see him step up, that was great. I did like that. Now, as far as Reagan is concerned, I was really glad, because I was so like, I'm like, oh, they didn't rehash the whole lot. Please don't have this man have to give his life so Reagan can, you know, survive and, you know, make that broadcast and then high-pitched sound. Is he gonna have to die for this? Because I just can't. Like, we can have a whole nother Lee situation. Like, no. But we didn't have to go that route. Now, as far as them, you know, having to be slow and steady and kind of, you know, get her into that sound booth to actually even give the sound, it was okay. Now, as far as her movement, like, I don't know if it was just me, but I felt like Reagan was moving so slow, and it was trying to be so intense and have her revel in the moment. it was just taking too fucking long because, you know, we have the monster trying to get the mom and clawing at the son. And oh my God, it's like, oh, are they going to get him? And it's like, well, if she hurry up and put the damn sound up, we can be over. People about to die yet again, waiting on you, girl, hurry up. But with that happening and the monster coming ahead and her reveling in it, like, you know, it was almost like a fight the power situation. Like, you don't even know what's about to happen. You don't even know. Like, girl, put it on there. Let's wrap it up. Bring it around town. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, them actually, you know, having some standing and we both have the children colliding and, you know, defeating the monsters, that was cool. And it didn't take me so much out of the moment that I wouldn't be invested in a part 3. But I'm never going to sit and pretend like I just thought this movie was so great and that it was better than the first one. That is not what's going on here. I did have a decent time watching it. It's not a bad movie, but I just didn't think it was great either. It did not captivate me like the first one, and I'm always going to stand by that. Well, you guys, those were my long overdue thoughts for A Quiet Place 2. Please drop down in those comments and tell me what you thought. Do you have some of the same sentiments, or are you feeling like, oh my God, people ain't never satisfied. This was amazing. Oh my God. Drop down and say that also. I love to hear from you guys. I love to, you know, get into the conversations down there. But I see you guys next time for my next video. Bye.